I'm Valerie Brown. I'm your Family Law Chair. Instead of me boring you with a presentation today, I will refer you to my written report. Instead, we have invited Helena Birt, who is the Family Law Limited Scope Services Project Senior Program Director, which is a very important private bar-driven initiative in response to the Boncalo report, which recommended, among other things, the provision and promotion of unbundled services. This was something that the Law Society indicated they would turn their minds to as well, but so far I'm not sure what they have done on that end. So that makes this all the more important. So welcome, Ms. Birt, today. We also have Rene Larson, who is going to be speaking about alternative business structures today. He's a longtime member of FOLA, both as a president and currently as the Northwest representative. So I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Throw something at me if I start taking too long, right? Good morning, all. Thank you so much for the invitation to come and speak to FOLA. I knew quite a few people in this room back in the day when this was still CADELPA. I've actually even just said hi to Mike Winward, who reminded me that we went to law school together probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Okay, again, I really do appreciate the opportunity to come here today to speak to you about our project. How many here have even heard about the project before this? Word is getting out there. Okay, this is going to be a very, very short presentation. It should take 10 minutes or so, including time for questions and answers. So I've already asked Rene if he just wanted to throw something at me, because I can talk about this project for a lot longer than 10 minutes if given the chance. But this is meant to be a very quick overview of what the project is all about, what we do, and what we're asking you to ask your folks to do to help the people of Ontario get better family law legal services. As an alternative method, unbundled services are out there. We think they should be used a lot more than they are, and our job is to see if we can actually spread the word about how you can use them safely, and make them a very viable and useful part of the practice of anybody practicing family law. So first of all, our mandate and our aim is to improve access to family justice for middle-income Ontarians. The big problem that we have, as Valerie had mentioned, was, as in the Boncalo report, family courts are getting clogged with people who are, if you're cynical, unrepresented, or if you're optimistic, self-represented. People generally do not hire lawyers because they feel that they can do as good a job themselves, or they simply can't afford it. One of the issues we have is with all the material and information that's getting out there to help people to go to court on their own, it actually is acting as an incentive for people to say, I don't need a lawyer, I don't need a law degree to go to family court to win my case, I can do this. The information's all available online. There are problems with it. Again, financial issues still continue to be a major player in people's decisions. Unbundled legal services give what we, again, refer to as the middle income or Ontarians a chance. People on the very low end of the scale can qualify for legal aid, at least so far. I guess we're going to hear more from David Field today. And then you have the wealthy who can afford to pay the sometimes many tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars it takes to go to family court. We're talking about the vast majority of people that go to family court that are middle-income Ontarians. They're not poor enough to qualify for legal aid. They're not wealthy enough to be able to finance litigation out of their own pocket or resolve matters on their own without a hefty pay price. What unbundled legal services do is gives people the opportunity to work with a lawyer to select exactly what they need at any given point and how much that is going to cost them. People might be more willing and able to come up with $4,000 for help in bringing a motion or completing the documentation to commence a claim, and then carry on with it on their own from there on in. But they may not be able to afford to pay the retainer and have a lawyer on a full representation model. And again, to be very, very clear, we're still saying the full representation model is always the best model to go through when you're dealing with especially a complex family law situation. The only problem is not everybody can afford it, not everybody wants it. What our job is in this project is to start promoting the use of unbundled services as that in-between option between no legal services at all and the full representation model. In the unbundled services regime that we're looking at, our project is promoting the use of 3 different things: limited scope retainers, legal coaching, and also a summary legal counsel project. And I'm going to talk to you about what all of these mean a little bit later on. So our project structure is that we are a 3-year project. We are just starting year 2 now. We are funded by the Law Foundation of Ontario. We are governed by a steering committee with a lot of very august personages on it. One of them includes Janet Whitehead, who was an ex-president of CADELPA, as it then was. We have, and I'll talk to you about who our steering committee is on the next slide. We also have a very broad-based advisory committee that includes representatives from Law Pro, the Law Society, MAG, different organizations that are involved in access to justice issues, plus a lot of private practitioners, both in law and large law firms and larger centers, and smaller individual, small firm practitioners in other areas, because we're saying this is not a model that's designed for practice in one type of environment. We're saying it's something that can be useful to people anywhere where they are in Ontario. The project has 4 major components. First of all is our website. We spent most of last year getting our own website up and running. When you go out for the break, if you want to, on the registration table, there's actually a handout with information about how to access the website and more detail on what's available on it. I really strongly urge you to go and take a look because we think the website's pretty cool. It's very user-friendly, a lot of really valuable information. The project will also provide you with best practices, precedents, and training for your lawyers that are interested in perhaps making unbundled legal services a part of their arsenal of services that they can offer people in addition to a full service model. And we have the Summary Legal Counsel program, which is basically a private duty counsel program, which we find very, very interesting, and I'll talk to you about a pilot project we're running in Barrie. The 4th major component of our project is the research. Dr. Rachel Birnbaum is also on our steering committee, very, very active in the field of access to justice in the area of family law. And pretty well everything else that we do in the project ties back with a request to lawyers that are joining our roster, that are helping to provide these services, to ask them if they're willing to help Dr. Birnbaum out by answering questions she may have about, so how is the unbundled legal services model working for you? How do you like it? How do your clients like it? So there's our steering committee. It's fairly small. Our chair is Tammy Moscow, who is Senior Family Counsel to the Office of the Chief Justice in the Superior Court of Justice. There's me. And there's our steering committee. Professor Nicholas Bala is on our steering committee, as is Dr. Birnbaum, as I'd indicated. Brian Burke from Epstein Cole, Cynthia Mancia, Janet Whitehead, as I had indicated, and also Lisa Eisen. Lisa is a very interesting person to have on our committee. She's actually the founder of a business called Family Law a la carte. She does nothing but unbundled legal services, and more she also focuses on this whole concept of legal coaching. A lot of lawyers have heard about unbundled legal services. Legal coaching is, in Ontario, a little bit of a newer thing to be looking at. Lisa provides legal coaching, and she also provides training to those who wish to become legal coaches. We're going to talk a little bit more about what legal coaching involves. There's a screenshot of our homepage for our website. It is designed so that people can go into it if they are members of the public looking for information on unbundled legal services and what might be available in Ontario. There's also a lot of really, really good resources, we think, for lawyers that might be interested in providing unbundled services. The website contains general information on the limited scope services and legal coaching. What we really are promoting is there's a lot of information and tools for lawyers. Just within the last couple of years, the Law Society has changed the rules of professional conduct to say that, yes, unbundled services are allowable, but it's really quite interesting because still they're saying, okay, it's out there, if you want to do it, please, but it's kind of scary. Our whole thing is to saying it shouldn't be scary. So on our website, we do provide information and tools for lawyers. There is a document on best practices that was reviewed by Law Pro with their input and the Law Society to make sure it meets all the requirements. And we are looking at that and still working with them on an ongoing basis to update it and upgrade it as more and more lawyers use it and we start finding more things we can do to make the practice bigger and better. We provide precedent retainer agreements. We also have an application to join our online directory of lawyers, and I'll be talking to you a little bit more about that as well. We have a resources list for family law lawyers, and there's actually a very helpful limited scope representation flowchart, which you can walk through to figure out exactly how the limited scope model works in opposition to a full-scale representation model. There's a lot of information for clients as well. There's how to find and hire a lawyer. We've been hearing is one of actually the most useful things that are on the website. People really, really appreciate saying, how do you actually go out and find a lawyer that might be willing to take your case, and then how do you talk to your lawyer? Often that's the critical point of any relationship is getting it started. Finally, we also keep a calendar of upcoming training and presentation events that the project is involved with. Okay, so limited scope services. Maybe representation for a single court appearance or specific assistance with drafting, legal research, or trial preparation. Okay, it's not that unusual, and I'm sure all of you may have done it without actually calling it unbundled services if you do family law, saying, all right, I will help you work out your property issues, but the parties on their own can pretty much deal with their custody and access, or it might be the reverse situation. And with the Law Society changing the rules, with paralegal services coming in as well, there's, again, a growing acceptance of saying there are people that can help you and assist you to do things at not the cost of a full-scale representation model. Legal coaching. It's a type of unbundled legal service. In this model, the lawyer actually never shows up at the front of the proceeding or in the front of the negotiations. In a coaching model, the lawyer provides behind-the-scenes guidance on both the hard and soft skills of lawyering, and the person still maintains direct control and authority over all the issues in their case. But what the lawyer does is gives them information and assistance in the background to tell them how to go ahead and do that and to be as effective as they can on their own in the absence of counsel if they choose not to have counsel. Okay, for our website, we do have incentive that we'd like you to talk to your lawyers about why they should think about joining our roster. We know that the justice system is struggling to manage with the present number of self-represented litigants. Again, the Legal Innovation Zone at Ryerson has done a lot of research on this, and what they've found talking to people is that people have some money to get some help with their family law legal issues. They just don't have the money to do the full-scale representation model. And as I said before, we're not saying this is a replacement or better than the full-scale model, but what it is that we believe that some help is better than no help at all. It's better for the court system, it's better for the clients, and it's also better for the lawyers, that they have a clearly cut arrangement with their clients as to what exactly is the nature and extent of the services that are being provided. There's also information from the lawyers that do this work out there that the lawyers who practice limited scope family services are happier with their practice. And what we offer on our website is a directory of lawyers who are willing to offer unbundled legal services. There is no cost to joining the directory. All that we're asking is that a lawyer, in order to apply, has a minimum of 3 years practice experience, at least a third of which is family law, and if your current practice is a minimum of a third, and that you complete the mandatory training. Mandatory training can be done in one of two ways. We will go out to do in-person training sessions. We were actually just with the Middlesex Family Law Association last week and trained about 25 to 30 people on the project and providing unbundled legal services. The other option is we have a webinar that's available on our website that was prepared for us with the assistance of the Ontario Bar Association. You can also accomplish the mandatory training requirement by viewing that webinar. Our only requirement is that you watch it with somebody else. So there's two of you there, so you can each vouch that you just didn't turn it on and go out for coffee and come back an hour and a half later. Okay, we are willing to come out to any jurisdiction that wants to have us out if we can get together a critical mass. We think a minimum of 20 people that are interested and willing to take the training means that you will get a personal visit from our panel of trainers, which are generally members from the steering committee, depending on who's available. But we are looking at going out there. This year, we're really working on promoting the use of getting on of unbundled services and to get on our roster. Okay, the summary legal counsel concept is really an interesting piece of what we're doing. It's basically a private duty counsel model. How many people here are familiar with the Oshawa Day of Court? Anybody? Okay, this is actually a program that was put together by private lawyers in Oshawa. So they're basically running a parallel to the Legal Aid Duty Counsel program, but they are providing private lawyers who have agreed to go into court on a day to assist people who are not financially eligible for legal aid duty counsel services, and they're just there to provide assistance and advice to that person on the day of court. So they negotiate the fee, the person pays it, they get their assistance that day, and the relationship between the parties are done. In our project, we are actually looking at the same thing and saying, you know, this is not a bad idea. This is something that if a local bar is interested in it, we will come in to support and assist you in setting that up. We are actually running a pilot project right now in Barrie for the Summary Legal Counsel. This was a request that came to us from the local bar, and it's very highly supported by the judiciary and court services staff. So what we have done in the project is help them develop the precedent retainers, intake forms, and information brochures for anybody who might be involved with the Summary Legal Counsel program. Since October 17 of 2018, we have 2 lawyers that are attending the Barrie Family Court each Wednesday on settlement and dispute resolution officer conferences, because that's a day where legal aid is not really active. We've had input from legal aid on this as well to make sure that we're not infringing on their territory or what they can offer in the way of legal aid duty counsel services. And it's very clear that the duty counsel that are there are there to work with clients who have day-to-day assistance. The early reports are quite positive, but the problem is that some people, when they're coming to court, don't realize that this is available. So we're really out there trying to promote it more. The lawyers in Barrie have agreed to provide fixed cost services of $200 an hour. The services they offer as duty counsel could be anywhere from just providing legal advice before they go into the DRO to going all the way through and saying, okay, the client wants to pay for 3 hours, which would include the advice, going in and attending on the conference, and then right up to the point of getting minutes of settlement done. In the cases that we've been dealing with in Barrie so far, we have at least 4 matters that were either fully or at least partially resolved because of the assistance of the lawyers that were there providing this private duty counsel model. We're still, as I said, we're in early days. People still don't know a lot about it. If it's successful, we are looking at moving to other days. The final component is research, and this is Dr. Birnbaum's bailiwick. She is very, very interested in gathering information on access to justice issues and various models and how they're working. So if you do tell your lawyers that they might be interested in joining our roster or providing unbundled legal services, we would love to hear from them to be able to get the data and information there to go back so that we can report back to the Law Foundation on saying, okay, this was our mandate, this is what we were required to do, and yes, it is making a difference to the people of Ontario. So that's it very quickly. I think I paused for breath twice in there. Does anybody have any questions or anything else? I will be around during the break as well. Depending on how the timing goes, I might actually be here for lunch. So anybody that wants to come up and talk to me afterwards about the project, I'm more than happy to do that. And as I said, I do have a handout back out on the registration desk for those that might be interested in taking it away. So again, no questions. Thank you very much for your time. Oh, there's one.
Sorry, just a quick one. Is there any special requirements for law pro to participate in this, to insure, make sure you're insured in a certain way?
Okay, the question is, in order to become involved in this project, are there any requirements from Law Pro in order to join our program? The answer is no. You still are subject to the same normal professional requirements as a lawyer practitioner as you would depending on whatever model you practice. What we have done in the project is we've developed materials that have met the requirements of the Law Society and Law Pro and the best practices to ensure that we're giving you the best tools as you can. To do limited scope services isn't providing a lesser level of services, it's a different level of services. And again, that's why we won't take people that are fresh out of the bar. We want people that have some experience doing family law because you have to be able to assess and make that determination about what, and in fact, if it is an appropriate situation for limited scope services to take place. But I strongly encourage you to take a look at the website because the materials there are very helpful. And as I said, they've all been reviewed and they won't approve, but they're saying, okay, if you're going to do limited scope services, these are going to help you avoid coming against future issues on your insurance if you decide to use this model. Okay, anyone else?
Are there any areas of family law that are not covered by the limited scope services, such as child protection?
No, that's actually been one of the places where there's been a lot of uptake in the little hotbeds around the province of people that do limited scope services, is helping parents who might otherwise be unrepresented to come up with a plan of care or to help them know what to expect when they're going in on an apprehension hearing. So, and again, what we keep saying too is that we believe actually that most family law lawyers out there at some point in their careers do unbundled legal services. They just don't think about it in that way. It's saying, geez, I really like to help you. You can't afford to retain me on this, but I can help you with this piece of what you need to do to at least get you going, or I can help you over this one rough patch. I can do a financial statement for you. I can do a brief, but you have to be very careful about the terms.
More comments. I'm not part of this project, but I did sign up, and I'm on the website, and I was very surprised that within a short period of time, people were finding me. They're finding your site, they want the service, and they're reaching out.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Anyway, I just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, actually, if we had time, I was going to take you on a quick walkthrough through the website. But if you go in, as I said, there's no cost to joining the directory. You can even have your picture up there. You've got all your social media sites. Once you're on the roster, it's your profile. You can go in and amend it and change it at any time you want. It's searchable by name. It's searchable by language in which you offer services. It's searchable by location and the services that are offered.
John Sipos from Perth County. Just a scenario that I wanted to paint for you to see whether I'm completely misplaced in my concern about this type of model. But if you have a situation, let's say that you are being consulted with respect to a matter that's coming up for trial, so you try and assist that person, they go to trial. On the other side of that case, there's counsel. They lose the trial. They have a cost order made against them. 7 days after the trial, there's a complaint to the Law Society about your conduct in preparing the person for trial. On top of that, they get a second legal opinion that the advice you gave them, in fact, was incompetent, and you face the prospect of calling LPIC and paying the first part of your deductible. Given that scenario, and I'm not sure how realistic that is, but let's assume that's a potential scenario.
It's completely hypothetical, right?
Well, of course it's completely hypothetical, but it's not. I mean, there's a possibility that could arise, particularly,
Yes.
When matters do ultimately go to trial, and particularly in family litigation. So what would you tell me in terms of putting my mind at ease as to why I would ever get involved in that scenario?
You are always bound by your own professional obligations and your complete self-awareness of your abilities and what you can and can't do for somebody, depending on what stage of the proceeding might be. This has come up a couple of times. The general consensus in most of the rooms we've had with experienced family counsel is there does get a point where it's coming too close to trial, where there's a lot of red flags and signals going up about whether, in fact, this is an appropriate model to provide service at that point. If, however, it's a situation where you can frame within your retainer agreement exactly what the nature and scope of the information and advice you're providing. Like I said, I would, personally, I would have concerns about going on as counsel of record at that point, just to get retained to do the trial. But if I have a client that comes in and says, I am going to trial in 2 months, what do I need to have in place and what do I need to be aware of? And to be able to design and set up your retainer, and our precedents are very, very good for doing that, for saying exactly the scope of what your advice is to that person, what the limitations on that advice are, and making it very, very clear that you can only give an opinion just as you would for an independent legal opinion on anything else. But yes, the closer you get to trial, the more dangerous it is. The more experienced you are as a lawyer, you know exactly how dangerous it is, and it's your choice as to whether you think you can adequately discharge your obligations to the Law Society in order to meet those.
Thank you.
Okay? I said, we're not asking you to do something you wouldn't otherwise do. So it's just we're giving you the tools to say we can make you more comfortable in doing this, and we're relying on your skills and expertise to do it right.
I think some of the problem is that we lawyers like to be in control. If we are advising a client as to what they should do when they go to court, or what arguments they should make, or what evidence they present, and then the client goes not having listened or heard what the lawyer says and does something completely different, and then blames the lawyer afterwards because they claim that they followed the advice when they didn't follow.
Oh, no. What we do in our training is that we say there are 2 things that are vital to make this a workable part of your practice. And they're things that you should be doing in your normal practice anyway. 1, communication. Communicate, 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 communicate. Be very clear with your client exactly what their expectations are and how you intend to meet those and what you can and cannot meet, and document those communications. Again, it's the same standard of care you would do in your normal practice, is that you do need to protect yourself, and people do have a tendency to forget if they've heard something they don't want to hear and they've gone off and done something different. But that's why if you've communicated properly and you've documented that communication, you should be okay, and we give you the tools to help make sure you're doing that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much for your time. I know I've gone a little bit over, but you've been great, and as I said, come and visit our website or come and talk to me, and I'd be happy to give you more information about the project. Thanks.